No, you do not need to restart. Hello, and welcome to another ohmTown on Twitch. I am Mayor Watt. That's what I go by in various places, mostly Twitch. So if you see me, I'm the mayor of ohmTown this stream, and the website that you see right over there. Hey, I did it again. First time. Yay. Hopefully you can hear a little bit of the music, but mostly me. I want to give you a quick rundown of how this works, and feel free if you're stumbling in here while I am in the middle of this, then awesome. But if you're coming here from a previous VOD, then go ahead and throw questions into chat. Now, this is not strictly a presentation. I like to vamp. I like to riff off of people asking questions in chat. But I'm new to this, and so there may not be many people in here. So feel free to step up to the plate and take a couple swings. That would be awesome. And feel free to follow me. That way I know that people are interested in this, and it's fun for me just to do this, but I'd really like it if people were interested in it. But we'll see what happens. I'm on day 26. I do this for an hour, and then I get out of Dodge. I'd like to do it more, but it really depends on everybody saying that this is cool. ohmTown.com is a website that's available to anybody. You can go over there and sign up and become a citizen of ohmTown. Start earning ohm, which is the currency on the website. It will eventually be the currency here on Twitch as well once, I reach the right level. If that ever occurs, I don't know. For more about what ohmTown is, it's a little piece of resistance on the wire where I hope a community will form. The site was originally created so that I could aggregate news. And it aggregates it into these 6 categories that you see at the top of the page that I'm scrolling across now. Depending on the day, I might have more or less aggregation taking place. It really depends on if a news source is problematic. But each element of news gets put into a category. These are the 6 main categories, like I said, but then there are these groups underneath it. I'm very into tech, so the tech side is pretty heavy, but I follow 3 major areas of interest, which is business, technology, and society. Those are my areas of interest. Those are my areas of academics. Those are my areas of professional existence. I have always been involved in those 3 areas. So I've started up my own businesses. I've done fundamental research in psychology and in sociology. And I have multiple degrees in IT. And I've been a consultant for 25 years and blah, 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 blah. So I don't really talk about myself that much at the beginning of every show, but I figured I'd throw a little bit in there after 26 days, get it out of the way to see if somebody is interested in that kind of stuff. So feel free to ask me questions. It doesn't have to be on the topics that we are talking about here. But I have a selection of about 18 or so, and I go through them, and I don't read the news beforehand. Usually I might catch a snippet of it, but in most cases, I have some history where I have heard about it or I've seen something else prior to this particular news bit, and I might be able to expound upon it in a different context. There's this thing called associative thinking that I practice, and so we could start talking about this next news bit that I'm about to start with, and we end up talking about something completely different, except that it is connected through a stream of interconnected points. And then you end up talking about it again with the realization that things aren't just done in a silo, in a vacuum. Everything is a big ball of interconnectedness. So hopefully you dig this, and we'll get started. Feel free again to ask questions in chat. I have no problem with stopping what I'm doing so that I can talk, because I'm talking anyways. Okay, so here's something that if Amazon wasn't trading right now at $2,700 a share, I'd probably invest in Amazon. Excuse me, got a hiccup there. So Amazon's trading at $2,700 a share. Amazon endorses legislation to end federal prohibition on marijuana. Reason why I say it like that. This is the news source for this is The Hill. So I clicked the link. I'll show you what the article is called on thehill.com. I won't read the whole thing. I won't go through it word for word, but the reason why I said, I would love to own Amazon shares right now is if marijuana were to be legalized and Amazon delivered, the stock price and the number of packages going out of Amazon's warehouses around the world would, well, particularly in the United States, would skyrocket. And I think that it would be just fine. For the longest time, nobody has bought into the whole thing that marijuana is bad. There's other worse, harder drugs. It's more natural than cigarettes. It used to be something that was supposed to have been a means to an end to interact with the universe in a holistic, natural way. You smoke this weed and you see your God. We turned it into cigarettes. And legalized that, but made the weed illegal. So, and that was just protectionism. That was just a means to an end to protect a market. And so I think that marijuana can be legal until the cows come home. And unless you make alcohol illegal, marijuana is no different. In fact, marijuana is more natural. All you have to do is grow it, dry it out, and smoke it, versus alcohol, which you have to sit there and ferment something or distill it. Or you can sit there and eat a fermented peach that's been rotting on the ground. Ta-da. You can get drunk off of that too. Anyway, if you can manage to last through the stomach cramps. Anyway, I say Amazon stock price would go shooting through the roof. What do you think? Go over to ohmTown.com, sign up, become a citizen of ohmTown, vote it up, vote it down, make a comment, come back in here and chat with me about it after you read it at the Hill. You won't get the whole news from my site. All you'll do is get that little snippet. Hopefully some people will start chatting. I'm not like other sites that have programmatically made users to post comments. That's almost, to me, I don't think that's right, but it's happened in the past with other sites. And so I have to rely on the natural progression or complete collapse of the site. Since I've only opened it up to the public, really, for the last 26 days, I'll be giving it some considerable time. But I just don't feel right making fake users and fake posts. Totally doable. Totally can be done. You can programmatically set up fake posts and users, and they'll somewhat make sense. But anyway, go over to ohmTown, sign up. This next article is from the Order of the Bean, which is shortened down to Of the Bean. And that's actually a domain name that will translate over to ohmTown in this subgroup. And Portugal's first dedicated natural wine fair is coming into existence if it hasn't already. It depends on this time frame. So I'm going to click the link. You don't actually have to open a new window. You can just click on the link and it'll open a new window on its own. And if you're into wine, you might find this interesting. But I figured I'd talk about sprudge.com and this particular event. It's brand new to me. I've never even heard of it. It says for the second edition of Pura Seda. I don't know how to pronounce that right. Iconic producers such as Patrick Boujou and Partida Cruz and La Media, Martin Warner. They're all be showing up, and it's really small. It has 450 attendees. My local winemaker, just a few miles away on a hill, can probably handle that. Pretty easily, probably. But I thought it was interesting. You know, wine is consumed all around the world, has been for thousands of years. And one of the groups, this actually isn't wine related. It got pulled into this because of a topic somewhere, or I should say some verbiage somewhere in this article. And it actually should be of the grape. So I'll be moving it over there. But at any rate, you'll still be able to get to it if you're interested. And that's kind of how this site works. Aggregates it into categories, and then you can go and read them. The next article is from the continuity report. That's where it's stored. I wanted to wait on this one to talk about it because I I thought that this was fascinating. But thank goodness that Billie Eilish's perfume is finally back in stock. Billie Eilish's chart-topping album, Happier Than Ever, catalyzed a lot of firsts for the 10-time Grammy winner in the past year. 10-time Grammy winner. I think that she's... How old is she right now? Something like 20 or 19? Let me check real quick. Hopefully you don't hear me typing. My mechanical keyboard used to be a lot louder. Yeah, she's 20. Already a 10-time Grammy winner. Wow. That's amazing. Anyway, if you're interested in Billie Eilish, you can finally get her perfume. It's back in stock. This comes from Variety. Feel free to click the link. You know, understated bottle. You won't miss that, right? You won't look around on your night or on your bathroom sink and go, where is my bottle of Billie Eilish perfume? Anyway, I don't know how much it costs. It looks like it's $68. And if you're interested in it, then you can go and get it. I don't know how long it'll last, though, because production for everything seems to be getting longer and longer. I think a couple of days ago, I said that there was something that I would have on order elsewhere, not personally for me, that was pushed to August. I have a recent one now that's pushing it to October. That's tech, though, so I don't know. Somebody could probably ramp up some production somewhere instead of making Billie Eilish's perfume. And I'll get it sooner. This next article is stored in Mobile. And it's probably, based on the title, it's probably from Fizz. No, this is from Vice.com. Vice.com is reporting that a mysterious radio signal from space is repeating every 18 minutes and 18 seconds. Which is pretty neat. So this is a little snippet from the longer article. I think most articles from Vice are long form. This is by Becky Ferreira. Unidentified radio source could be a type of dead star that has never been observed before. Probably a pulsar, just with a slower rate of rotation. But that's kind of what it says right here in that first paragraph, that an unusual periodicity. It's probably just rotating at a different rate and maybe off axis from us. So it's not always pulsing at the same, it's not always scanning across us at the same frequency, right? It's always 18 minutes, 18 seconds, but that's because it's brushing past us at that time, but it could be spinning more. It just happens to be that every 18 minutes, 18 seconds, that period comes across us and we pick it up on our satellites. But I don't know. Obviously, there are researchers that are looking into it more. And if you want to dig deeper into this, then obviously you can go over to vice.com and take a look. In fact, that's what I ask of you. Don't just make a comment on ohmTown.com without reading the article. I really want you to read the article and then come back and talk, both in the group and in my chat. Feel free to ask questions. I can scroll through this article if you're interested in something, and we can talk about it. Or you can tell me about something that you know about this, because I will never accept the claim of being the smartest man in the room. I am absolutely willing to accept that there are people that are subject matter experts in a whole myriad of things outside my area of expertise or interest, for that matter. The amount of people that are skilled out there in the world is amazing. And it did it again. This should not be clipped like that, because it's not clipped. I see that whole article title at the top, but this is clipping it right there where it says space. But there are some words after that, and I just don't know why it's doing that. I do and I don't. When I change this, it shouldn't be scrolling right there, but whatever. I will continue to work on it to see what the problem is. It just drives me nuts. So at any rate, let's keep the ball rolling. I'm actually moving at a pretty good clip here. So Of the Bean has another article plugged into it. A major update just dropped for America's biggest coffee competition. The U.S. Coffee Championships take place April 8th through 10th in Boston, Massachusetts. Let's hope that they don't get canceled because of COVID. It's really hard to sip your coffee through an N95 mask. A little bit easier through a KN95 because it's about 1% less effective than an N95, but we won't worry about that little bit. So 2 months away, right, from the return of the U.S. Coffee Championships. If you've never seen it, then it's kind of interesting to watch. And you can go and check it out if you're in the area, obviously. Headed to Boston in early April. There are a couple of YouTubers that took place in one of these championships and kind of leveraged that into a YouTube career. It's really interesting. I love seeing people that are very passionate about a particular thing. And I really like lattes. I make my own at home. I don't have expensive equipment. In fact, one of the places that I go to has, I think it was a $12,000 espresso maker with only 2 stations. And obviously it's industrial. It heats up really fast and it has multiple boilers and all of that kind of stuff. But I just make a cheap, good latte. But this looks really good. Now I want some more cups. And chai concentrate. That'll be, wow, I'm being sold products through these little banner ads on sprudge.com. Go check it out. Go read it for yourself and come back and talk to me. And if you're interested, then you can go and look up the U.S. Coffee Championships. They have competitions and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. Oh, look, it even says that, with a full roster of 6 different competitions. Basically, it's baristas that are, or I don't know if that's the proper term anymore, coffee aficionados, or I don't know, subject matter experts in coffee that make a latte or something, or have knowledge of it and talk about it. It's pretty cool. So go and check it out. U.S. Coffee Championships, headed to Boston. So this next article is in Band to Bezel. It's a subgroup over in technology. Band to Bezel talks about watches. Like I say, when I first start introducing these channels, that I give it kind of a little bit of context. I'm really into tech. I have an Apple Watch on me pretty much 24/7. And I like mechanical watches. I like those. I like skeletons in particular, skeleton watches in particular. And I said, I think it was my last episode, that I love that people expose that the inner workings through a skeleton type of interface, right? They put a crystal across the top, or the back, so that you can see the inner workings of it. That glass or sapphire glass might highlight the elements within it. And every time I've seen a different watch, the inner workings are slightly different. But then when you watch somebody repairing a watch on YouTube or somewhere, you'll notice that when they're describing all of the parts are always the same. They're just in fascinating levels of complexity, and the cut, the form and finish are different, but it's always the same elements. I'm sure there's some that are like outliers from the standard, but they're always seemingly the same to me. Obviously, you may know more about it, but I'm going to click this link. This particular link is over at Hodinkee. It's a site that basically focuses on watches, and this looks like a render to me. But some more new Royal Oak self-winding watches. Let's see if they highlight the back. Oh, you can actually see through it. They've got a little skeleton window in the front, where you can see an element. And that might be the clock spring. Let me see if it says it somewhere on there. Might say it up above. 1 second. Yeah, I don't see where it says it. Anyway, looks pretty cool. Let's see if they highlight the back at all. See, in this part, this little thing that is deep set inside, that portion is the same element in another watch, but just in a slightly different shape. But that is a key ingredient to the functioning of every watch. It just slightly different. And that's the thing that I think is amazing. Let's see. And I forgot what that is called. I know that that's the spring, but there's an actual name for it, and the little thing that captures it underneath. It's pretty cool. So there, this site breaks out the elements of it. It's pretty cool. But when you see the price is upon request, maybe you can afford it, but I can't. That's pretty expensive. Okay, here's another one, Band to Bezel. I believe it's going to come from the same website. Yes, it does. So the Royal Oak Jumbo Extra Thin Open Worked. So let's take a look at this one and show show you probably the same inner workings, right? Oh, wow. This one has a completely naked face. You can see straight through it. So this is probably the most skeletonized watch that I've seen. Pretty neat stuff. It looks like it's a $90,000 watch. And I guess another version is price on request. So again, can't afford it. I can't afford it. Maybe you can, but I can't. So that's pretty neat. There's the main spring. Maybe I can get somebody to come on and talk to me about it, about watches and cleaning them. I don't know anybody in the industry itself, but maybe somebody would be gracious enough to do a quick video with me. If you know anybody who would be willing to come on and be a host or co-host for the Band to Bezel show, I'm actually looking for hosts for each of the shows, or co-hosts, whatever the case may be, if they want me there or not. But I'm trying to get ohmTown to have 50 shows a week, 1 hour per show, and then on repeat. And so if you are interested in a particular show, one of these that are listed here as I'm scrolling across, feel free to get in touch with me. It doesn't have to be one of these, by the way. If you are interested in hosting or co-hosting and you don't want all the hassle of setting all of this stuff up, get in touch with me. And if it has a place within ohmTown, then I'll add it and we can talk. So apparently, in the Daily News show, this was aggregated several hours ago, and apparently Hilary Duff is back in How I Met Your Father. I thought that it existed already, and it is apparently a reboot, and it's going to be on Hulu, which means I won't be watching it because I don't like Hulu's interface. But this is a New York Times article. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to read much of it. But I'm not sure how this is going to get traction, but what a weird framing of this. Alexis Solosky, forever young, forever pert. Okay. Found a home on the Disney Channel 2 decades ago as Lizzie McGuire. And multi-platinum? Interesting. Not too much on my radar. She's been touring for 4 years. Interesting. Well, I'll probably end up having to take a look at it anyway, simply because I'm interested in all things TV related. I may not go a deep dive, but kind of like the show, like my show, this show here on Twitch. Yeah, I consume a lot of media, and How I Met Your Father is just going to be another show that I'm going to look at. Might be interesting. Who knows if it'll grab me and I end up watching it. It's certainly not something that I would normally watch, but you never know. Let's see what this next article is. Couture for the Moment from Schiaparelli, Chanel, and Dior. Let's see. This is from New York Times. How embarrassing. I almost wore this same outfit. Anyway, couture is interesting because it highlights a lot of the material in something that could be put together for somebody. And it's not designed really, as far as I know, to be worn as is. So like nobody's going to wear these as is, but the person who made this would be contacted to utilize this type of fabric in something custom. It's to me, this is for markets that are well outside, standard retail. And it's usually for people who want custom dresses of some kind. And it's designed to highlight the skills of the designer. So sometimes it's just fascinating what somebody can do. And sometimes you look at it and wonder, how did this person keep a straight face when they put this on? But they get paid a lot of money to do that. And they're not supposed to be all bubbly and fun and crazy. They're supposed to be basically people that are highlighting the fashion, not highlighting themselves. Obviously, they highlight themselves in the process, but everybody looks away from that. So there you have it. And I won't go through the whole article, obviously, but I like talking about pretty much everything to some degree. And there's some good photography that takes place there. And that's one of the shows called Prime Glass that I'm trying to develop, that talks about photography and the equipment and the people and more. Just put it to you that way. So the Daily News Show is one that I've mentioned previously, that it aggregates news, and it's basically going to be a show all by itself, kind of like what I'm doing now, but focused on news that it specifically aggregates. The topics of which would be diverse and not fixed to one particular thing, but it would be a composite of the day or week news highlights. This in particular is a wearable tech device called the Oura Ring. I've seen this before. So here, I'll click the link. It's over at New York Times. They pump out a lot of news depending on, and I grab from various segments. So this one happens to be tech, and it's probably in some other area of the site in a different context. But it says, at a time when we are concerned about health, the smart ring, which can track sleep and body temperature, is too flawed to recommend. This is an article by Brian Chen. And it's an actually pretty expensive device at $300. I had been considering getting this, but I couldn't get past, it's limited and duplicates what my Apple Watch does. What I'm really looking for is a real-time blood pressure check. And the only one that I know of right now that does this is a watch that wraps around your wrist and periodically inflates to check your blood pressure, and then deflates, and you have to hold your arm in a particular way. So really, blood pressure cuffs aren't ready for wearable tech in the grand scheme of things, because they don't just function straight out of the box. You have to position yourself in a certain way. As far as I know, there's nothing that allows you to just walk and it'll check your blood pressure. There may be something a little more cutting edge, and if you know about it, then get in touch with me. And if you know about it and you're in my chat, then post it. I would love to take a look at it. But the ring itself is pretty attractive, and it uses the same type of mechanics that the Apple Watch does and other smartwatches that have the same functionality. Just looking at it, it kind of compels you to actually get it. But Brian Chen can tell you more about it when you go over to his site at New York Times. This article, Tech Fix, the Oura Ring 3 review, a missed opportunity for wearable tech. I think that this ring, although it's expensive, it's not as big as an Apple Watch. An Apple Watch can be a little bit more expensive, but there's more function to the Apple Watch. I'm holding up my wrist, but not far enough. The Apple Watch, the Apple Watch has a lot more function to it. And you can change out the band and all of that kind of stuff. You can hide it behind a shirt. You don't have to worry about the ring itself. So depending on what you do for a living, a metal ring can be disastrous. And uh, I've heard stories, and I no longer wear a wedding ring, um, simply because I've had close calls, either diving or doing IT work, um, or working on a car or something like that. There have been close calls where you just, at the moment that you're doing something, you don't necessarily think about your ring. But I have since stopped wanting to worry about my ring. Because if you take it off, you put it in your pocket, you can lose it, whatever. But you don't want a metal ring on your finger in some jobs. And this smart tech is really good for people who are curious about the data. So it may not be prime time ready for somebody who's very tech savvy, but there are people that are in a sweet spot who will be able to take advantage of this at that $300 price point, and track their health without having to have a watch. So there's some good and bad in all of this. The context matters. So go check it out over at the New York Times. Come back and then talk to me about it. This next article is again stored on the Daily News Show. It is an article from New York Times as well. Today they kind of my aggregator grabbed a lot of news from various sources, and New York Times, I think, came in pretty heavy. SpaceX rocket part to crash into moon 7 years after launch. This is a 4-ton piece of the rocket, and it could make a 65-foot crater on the far side of the moon. Well, that's going to upset the aliens, and I don't know what's going to happen from there. I mean, we were already worried about COVID. Now we're going to be worrying about dark side of the moon aliens. By the way, dark side of the moon is a weird claim, because there is no real dark side of the moon. But anyway, so a 4-ton piece of a rocket, one of the rockets, a SpaceX Falcon 9. I suppose it's from the Falcon 9. So it'll tug on it a little bit until it crashes into the moon. A little bit of gravity. So hopefully it doesn't do anything other than just smash into the moon. We've fired off a rocket trying to nudge an asteroid out there somewhere. I haven't looked into that for a while, but I don't know. We mess around with space to some point, and it's going to come back to haunt us. A composite of 30 images showing the Falcon 9 booster traveling from lower right to upper left on January 20th. Because the booster piece is spinning, it appears to fade in and out, as the sun hits it. Interesting. So you can go and check out more if you are interested in this. It's over on New York Times. SpaceX rocket part to crash into moon 7 years after launch. And if we keep on sending stuff up and ejecting parts into space, if you've ever seen a map of the debris that is already circling Earth, I mean, there's a lot of space still, but that stuff has to land somewhere. And we've read about pieces smashing into satellites and into the space station. So hopefully we get some tech out there that can clean up our mess before our mess starts cleaning us up. So an article that was aggregated into the word and tech, scientific hardware and experiments return to Earth on SpaceX CRS-24 Dragon. A retired microscope and samples from studies on colloids and cellular signaling are among the cargo returning from the ISS. Let's see. It's supposed to undock on the 22nd, right? So this is from phys.org. Obviously, I want you to go over there and read that article. Let's see. A state-of-the-art light imaging microscope, the Light Microscopy Module, launched to station in 2009. Wow. Returned to Earth aboard Dragon for a well-earned retirement. Yeah, microscopes don't really go out of style all that much. Might have to replace the lighting, but the optics are always good, particularly this level. The only thing that could happen, one second. The only thing that could really happen with a microscope is better technology come along. So hopefully they found something really interesting, but the research that spawns from the stuff that takes place up on the ISS can be studied for decades and revisited later on for more applicability as time goes on. So this next article is groundbreaking study reveals dynamics of DNA replication licensing. This is something that I clicked on because of that. I have no idea about this stuff. This particular topic, the licensing, and it might mean something slightly different. So we'll click into this and then groundbreaking. Oh, this is at phys.org. Groundbreaking study reveals dynamics of DNA replication licensing. Cells use this process to regulate or license the replication of their genomes during cell division. And as I've mentioned previously, the more research that we can do into DNA to study the various elements within the DNA so that we can remove this idea that there is quote unquote junk DNA. It really isn't junk. We just don't know what the context is for those segments that we are determining aren't functioning or are not used for some element of something that we already understand to some degree. Again, we are always learning. So I would encourage people to, if you're still in college and you don't know what you want to do, biology is just fascinating. Genetics is a deeper dive into biology. Be sure to study math deeper than you think that you want to go. You'll want more. I couldn't even tell you what level, pardon me. I'd have to look into it more, but the things that transfer the easiest from one college to another is math. It's so regimented and so, pardon the pun, formulaic that if you take a math class in one college, you can transfer to another college with almost no friction because everybody tends to gravitate towards the same level. And then once you get to a certain point, basically there's niche colleges that go much deeper. Pardon me again. Yeah, I don't have my water with me. So sorry about that. Anyway, and the more that we learn about the genetics, the more we'll be able to apply that understanding to stopping things that are much more personalized to the patient, like cancers, flus, and many other illnesses are kind of like here's the treatment. But cancer is still like a battle axe, right? You have to do one big thing to kill the cancer, to stop it from spreading. You have to cut it all out. There's no way that you can just take medicine for it because you have to, it's so personalized that it's hard to find within the body. It's hard to stop the signaling that a mass might be giving off because they give off a chemical signal into the blood. And so we do things with like nuclear medicine, and it does so much destruction to the body, that only because we are very elastic in our health that we can recover from it. But it takes a considerable amount of time to recover from chemo. And it somewhat changes, you don't fully recover from it. It seems. So hopefully as time goes on, this fundamental research that people are doing, will translate into something, great. And this is a University of North Carolina School of Medicine article. So go and check it out if you're interested in it. This next article is stored in the Wanted group, and it's Huawei manages to launch the P50 internationally at ridiculous prices. And that price is $1,353 US or 1,200 euro. And yeah, I would say that for an international device, I'd say that it's trying to take advantage of a time frame that it's going to be priced for the haves, because the US is suffering from inflation that's going off the charts. Not really off the charts yet, but I'm predicting 1970s, early 80s era inflation, along with the potential of financial collapse like 2008. There's nowhere else for the economy to go in terms of the Fed lowering rates. So we'll see what happens, but $1,200 for a phone seems like it's, and there's actually two of them, the 6.6 inch device. This article is over at Ars Technica, so I'll click the link and take you there, and then you can look at it yourself. Huawei manages. This is from Ron Amadeo. And I won't go through the whole article. Again, I have to remind everybody that in this particular show, we won't go through an entire article. You'll have to go over there and you can read it for yourself. The P50 Pro and the P50 Pocket. And it's got a Snapdragon 888 SoC. These systems on a chip are getting smaller and smaller and more powerful. I think it's wonderful. I think it's amazing. Along with the ability to laminate this stuff into something that the body won't reject. We'll have human to computer direct interface with this tech in due time. Not sure when it becomes really functional. Like I've said in a previous episode, the human to computer connection stuff, human to tech connection attempts that I've seen previously have always continued to be problematic, even when it's purpose built and it's been tested. It always seems to be, unless it's entirely encapsulated within the body, like a pacemaker or an artificial heart, it always tends to be really messy on the outside leading to the inside. And that's just the natural biological process of trying to attack the foreign object. So the more that we have the ability to integrate that tech entirely inside us and then use radio frequency or other wireless technologies to transmit data and power, we'll always have this problem of a human to technology interfacing. So I keep telling people that micronization of technology is going to continue. I've actually had one person flat out say, well, hasn't it all been done, in the 80s? No way. Look at what Apple is doing. It used to have huge motherboards, and now it's, they're tiny little things that are that wide, that long, but only that wide, and getting smaller. At some point, we'll have to we'll have to carry around a microscope just to find the entire motherboard, not just a chip. So go over to Ars Technica and read this for yourself about the P50 and see if it's right for you. And then come on back and you can talk shop and say, hey, your take on this Huawei P50 isn't exactly right. Maybe there's something there that I missed. But the latest chip doesn't impress me. There's always going to be a latest chip. So this article is over on Stock Marketeers. One of the things that I'm interested in is basically talking about business and their performance, their impact on society, and society's impact on the stock and the business. Bitcoin trades up briefly near 39,000 after Federal Reserve keeps interest rates near zero, expects hikes soon. If you have not refied your mortgage, you should do it before the rate hikes take effect. If you have not refinanced your car, if you are interested in that kind of thing and haven't paid your car off, not everybody's like that, but there were higher interest rates and they are still lower. But the risk is starting to get to the point where even the loan offerers are no longer accepting these lower rates because they know that there's going to be a crunch here where the people don't qualify for the loan. So when they do qualify, it has to be at a higher rate. And since the basis is going to increase, so will the rates. And the rates will stack up higher. The rates that are offered by the lenders will be dramatically higher than the rate that the feds increase by. So if it's a quarter of a point, expect 2 points, it may not be that high, but you have to expect the worst. So prepare for it now. So Bitcoin trades up about $1,000 near 39,000 before falling back to around 37. I don't think that it is. Let's see. Yeah, so it's at 36,859 and 70 cents. So down about $112 for the day. And this was grabbed earlier today. The source is Market Watch, and they tend to change their article names because this is supposed to have matched my article because that's what it gets grabbed as. Bitcoin trades up briefly near 39,000. But then they change it. And I really don't like that. I mean, it drives me nuts because somebody might see an article and then when they click it, I did not change that article's submission. That used to be called crypto. Bitcoin trades up briefly near 39,000. And now that same link is this. And if you look at the URL actually has it. You can't see the URL. The URL has my original, or I should say its original title. So at any rate, now it says Bitcoin stabilizes despite Powell saying Fed, quote, of a mind, end quote, to raise interest rates in March. Analysts expect volatility ahead. Analysts should be expecting volatility in Bitcoin pretty much as status quo less than a year ago, right? So year to date, a year ago it was at 32,000. In April of 21, it was at 62,000. In November of 21, it was at 67,000. And in between there, almost dead center in between there, almost like a wave. Might have to do some analysis on this. In July, right in between the two peaks, it was at 29,000 again. So somebody the whole institution of Bitcoin is just wave after wave, it looks like. In fact, I would say only since 2020 has it really evolved that form of wave. It looked almost like a dead cat bounce, right? It started at 18,000 in December of 2020, rose to a high of about 62,000 in April of 2021. It declined again to 33,000 in July of 2021, and then it spiked again to 65,000 in November of 2021, and now it's down to 36. It's not dead cat because you don't recover really from a dead cat, but it is back to the same level that it was in July of 2021. So in 6 months, 7 months, it has lost all of its original value from, 7 months ago. Pretty fascinating stuff. Bitcoin is just too volatile. Yet if I would have kept my Bitcoin from when it first launched 5 years ago, and actually for me, it was when it was launched, I started mining, but I stopped because for me, I figured that it was pegged to the US dollar. There could always be the chance that somebody just kills the ability to use cryptocurrencies. It always had a weird mystique to it that it was, I guess I just couldn't see the vision of it. I knew that it would be in existence for a while, but I just didn't see it as being long-term accepted. But, almost a decade later, it seems to still be here and a whole lot more expensive, but it's pegged to the US dollar. Okay. So this last one, that I thought was really interesting, is that everybody get ready and you can start screaming because my version of this is about coffee. And I drink Jameson too. So, this is of the grape. It really should be for somebody else, for a different group altogether. And it should be under distillerist, which is that right there. New Orleans is running out of Jameson right before Mardi Gras. Along with the fact that there are COVID issues and other things going on, you'd think that it wouldn't be that much of an issue, but running out of Irish whiskey is a serious thing for partygoers. So this article comes out of Vine Pair. You can go over and check it out on your own. New Orleans is running out of Jameson right before Mardi Gras. It's a article by Julia Larson. And it starts out for the first real carnival, it's carnival celebration since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many New Orleans bartenders and bar owners are feeling the pressure of different shortages, including Jameson Irish whiskey. If there is no Jameson and I'm hosting 400 New Orleans bartenders, there would be a riot. Yep. And that might actually happen. So we'll see what happens. We had to postpone an event on January 17 for the Barman's Fund. Wow. Yeah, if I didn't have any Jameson and I was hosting, I would probably postpone and call it a COVID-related issue because it wouldn't make any sense to me to do that. I wouldn't risk, a riot. Anyway, if you are going to be going over to Mardi Gras, wait a second. 1 second. So yeah, it's March 1st. It's right around the corner. I thought so. Bring some Jameson because it might not be there. And drive safe. Don't drink and drive, please. So with all of that news, it's a broad spectrum across myriad topics and across the internet and around the world. If you are interested in this kind of thing, then come on back and talk to me. I really do enjoy having conversation and chat. It's happened in the past in my 26 days of doing daily shows, but not lately. And definitely follow me. Let me know that you are interested in this, and I will keep on putting on a show. It's not much of a show, other than I'm highlighting some news that maybe you haven't seen. And hopefully there will be people in my chat that will want to come onto the show, because right above me is a bunch of black space there, right? And so if you follow me or you do other things, that will trigger alerts up there. But I have a special spot for y'all. If you want to come onto the show and talk shop about anything, I'm here really. One of the things that I'm more interested in doing than just talking about news is I'm interested in highlighting you, not just me. Not everybody wants to host a show. Not everybody wants to run a show or run a website or mess with all of the stuff involved. I mean, it can be as simple as turning on a camera, but some people don't want to do that every day. You know, if you want to do that once a week and come on my show, then come on my show. Let me know in chat, send me a message somehow, somewhere. I'm everywhere. So all you have to do is get in touch with me, and I will, we can talk and see what you are comfortable with. And I will put you right up there, right there. I have to look up because I have a monitor up here, but anyway, and I got monitors everywhere. I'm getting radiation burns from all of my monitors and that light right there. Anyway. So I dig the news, I gather it all up, I mash it down into, I don't know what, a mash. and we talk for an hour, or I talk for an hour. And that's where I'm going to end it. Okay. I'm Mayor Watt. Thanks for coming and visiting ohmTown on Twitch. Go over to ohmTown.com. I haven't been posting anything on YouTube or on Twitter. I really should. You know, maybe it's I don't know, maybe I'm lazy. I have the shows, I just haven't put them on there because I didn't document all of the articles very well. But now I'm rambling, and I love doing this, so I want to keep going. Thanks for coming again. I will talk to you soon. Enjoy some music.